What is Altair 365 and why is it a big deal? Let's cover that next. Okay, so let's talk about Altair 365. And I'm thinking hard about that because there's also an offering called Altium 365, which is different. Altair 365 is offered by Altair, which has simulation, design, a lot of different solutions for product development of smart connected products. Altium 365 comes from Altium, which is basically they offer cloud-based PCB circuit board design software. So two different things. If I say this accidentally, I apologize. We're talking about this today, Altair 365. So what's the deal here? So Altair has a number of different products. HyperWorks, KnowledgeWorks, Altair Embed, Altair Activate. There's lots of different solutions that Altair offers. And what they're doing is they're taking those products and moving them into a cloud-based solution that will be available through a browser. Okay, so kind of continues the trend that we're seeing with a lot of different solution providers where they're making this transition from desktop-based, on-premise-based types of solutions to cloud-based solutions. So in that way, it's not all that unusual or different. It's a good move. However, there are some interesting implications here. So there's this idea that they kind of introduced at their technology conference a few weeks ago of applying machine learning and artificial intelligence on top of simulation results. Okay, so that was interesting. Separate video, check it out. But in this case, it's also interesting because they have a solution that will capture sensor data in an IoT platform kind of way. All right. They also can capture test data and store that. And all three of these can be stored in the cloud. That's part of this vision. Okay. So when you think about it, though, there's a continuum from theoretical performance with simulation and analysis to test data and then real physical performance data streaming in onto a IoT platform from a remote product. So there's this continuity from design and theoretical all the way through reality and what is actually happening in operation. Machine learning and AI can be applied across all of those, interestingly enough, to give you more insight into what is happening with that. And that can actually happen in the cloud, right? So they're talking about supporting this kind of scenario in the cloud, which becomes very, very interesting because you have remote compute resources. You can have AI and machine learning applied more generally to it. And use those compute resources across this continuum. So that's definitely interesting. That's one of the things that stood out to me. Another interesting thing, though, it's kind of more fundamentals or table stakes, which is people can kind of transition from tools like solid thinking, which is kind of the design, solid thinking Inspire, which is more of the aesthetics, and generative design. HyperWorks, more of the specialized, higher-end analysis types of tools, the solvers that they have, and all the other tools are moving towards more of a common UI, a standardized UI that will help democratize the use of these tools across many, many, many more users, right? So it's interesting because that commonization or standardization of UI alongside their licensing structure, which is basically kind of like units or credits that can be used, that can be consumed as you use different tools. It doesn't matter which tool. Users can kind of switch back and forth between these tools kind of seamlessly and not have to worry about, do we have a license of that, right? All these tools are going to be available. It's just which ones do you want to use your credits for in use. So that becomes very interesting too. Not only can users seamlessly kind of transition between these tools from a UI perspective, but also from a licensing perspective, they have a lot more freedom. So that's interesting as well. So they just announced this a few weeks ago. There's going to be a time of transition. They will not be yanking away the on-premise or desktop solution. So don't worry about that. If you're a user, you're still gonna be able to run your products in the same sort of way. However, from a licensing perspective, I don't think it matters if you're on-premise, on desktop, or in the cloud. So it's a matter of almost UI preference. And do you want to run in a browser? And do you want expandable compute resources? So, the argument switching there is actually pretty interesting. It's a little bit more seamless than some of the other software and solution providers that are trying to make that switch right now. So that's it. That's my take. That's what Altair 365 is. And that's it. Take care and talk soon.